Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome back to my petty venting sessions. Today I want to talk about forgiveness and the importance of it, and how this attitude of eye for an eye leaves the whole world blind. So people are angry, and that's a thing that's always been. I mean, in a way, I feel it's easier to be to be angry than to be happy sometimes, because it's easy to have that reaction with things that we're not happy with people around us doing things that annoy us. It's a very, very human thing, very natural reaction. And so, ask anybody, and somebody's got some kind of pet peeve or something that grinds their gears. And out of that, if you're not careful, you can turn that pet peeve, that annoyance, can become like a real hate and a real wish for someone's misfortune. And I think it's important to put things into perspective so that it doesn't reach that point, because the implications, the impact of having that attitude of just wishing for someone's downfall is very severe to you and to others. And karma's a biatch, and harboring that can really, it doesn't end up good for someone. So I'll give an example to what's kind of been giving me this inspiration to do a video on this. So I've been watching some true crime documentaries, and I don't do it often. I feel like it's kind of negative, but it's easy to get pulled in sometimes. And I've gotten really entrenched in some of these documentaries that keep you on the edge of your seat. And the ones that it's about is the Taylor Parker case. I think they're both on Netflix. It might be HBO Max, but the Taylor Parker case and Lucy Letby. And I watched the Taylor Parker case. I didn't finish Lucy Letby, but anyway, I've watched through these. And Taylor Parker is this, I think she was diagnosed borderline personality, sociopathic kind of tendency. She's a master manipulator, center of attention seeker. Anyway, she ended up unaliving a woman and cutting out her baby to steal her baby, because she could no longer get pregnant, and she needed to keep up this lie that she had gotten pregnant when people realized she had had a hysterectomy. So long story short, after both these documentaries, I never finished the Lucy Letby. I probably got 45 minutes in, but it's kind of hard on my heart to watch. But I've gone on Reddit to kind of express, or to look to see if anyone has felt the same. I've Googled a question: does anybody feel, am I the only one that feels this, whatever, through AI, and it brings up a Reddit. And I've noticed for both of these, for Lucy Letby, but especially Taylor Parker, people are just wishing the worst on them, just spitting hate, just happy to just wish the downfall. And if they get a life sentence, that's not enough. They want the death penalty. This also reminds me, I watched the Idaho murders one about the 4 college kids that were murdered, unalived. The people on the Reddit were just, on the documentary, were just wishing the absolute worst and just seething with hate. And I understand if your child was unalived by somebody, but my gut feeling is, when I put myself in their shoes, and I don't know what it would be like. I've never experienced something like that, but I think after a certain amount of time, I'd probably still resent the person so deeply. But realizing that wishing them harm will not bring your child back, your sibling. And I almost feel like a lot of the hate comes from others encouraging that. It's like we all want someone to hate. As humans, we have this tendency to want someone to hate, to take out all our frustrations on. And that's a socially acceptable way. But that's really, really bad karma to harbor this attitude, because instead of embracing burying the hate, or at least working with it, recognizing you're going to be resentful, but not putting fuel to the fire, because even for people who have done terrible things, wishing worse on them just hurts you, because they're human too. And they might even be sociopaths and like no empathy, but people end up this way. They don't end up this way on accident. They've pretty much always had severely bad childhoods, or they're going through something severe, because hurt people hurt people. Happy people do not hurt people. And so you're really hurting yourself when you wish bad on others. But I've seen in these comments people just like, what a piece of shite, I hope they die. They need the death, the unalive penalty. And I noticed this on the Idaho murders. And another point I want to mention is most of the people saying this in the Idaho murders, while they were being interviewed, they had a cross around their neck. It was based in Idaho State, which is a rural part of Idaho. They'll have their Christian cross around their neck, and they're wishing the worst on this person who unalived their friend, family, whatever. And this really angered me, because like, do you not realize what your religion teaches, And I'm the first to, I love the Abrahamic religion, and especially what Jesus said, the values that come from that. I'm all for Christian values, and I like to consider myself a true Christian, because I look at other Christians, and all they say is you need to worship the name of Jesus and then you're saved, but not take any of his teachings to heart. And I'll say that whole thing in the Bible about God will say he knew you not. I feel like that's the thing about a lot of Christians. To just say the name and not understand. You really, think about it. Do you really think Jesus was for that? With everything he was teaching you and going into churches and flipping the tables, he was against that kind of attitude. So anyway, they were wishing the worst hate on this man who unalived their daughter, their sibling, their friend. And it even shows at the end, they're in the trial, and they're just ripping the guy apart. You're a loser, and no one loved you. And then it's like this guy already knows that. He's not a happy dude. Happy dudes don't do that. You know what would really help change him more than anything, I think? And I don't know, to some level, maybe he needed to hear it, but it was just over the top. And it was just hateful, and it's like, that reflects on you. But here's the thing. I think what really changes people, if someone were to say, I'm not happy with what you've done, but for myself, I could forgive you. I'll forgive you. Maybe I don't like you, but I forgive you. That, I think, changes criminals often, because they're like, oh man, I do not deserve this. And they experience a love that they hadn't felt, which is what drove them to these heinous acts. That like gets into their guilt. So it's like all around, if you look at it on a spiritual, mental, emotional level, this is kind of what changes people, in my opinion, often. And like I said, to some level, they may need to hear that, like, you monster stuff, because, like, I mean, they need to wake up to their monstrous acts. But this is coming from Christians, you know, and this attitude is often harbored, I think, among Christians, you know, but this shows that they're not really Christian, in my opinion. Like, they're not taking what Jesus said to heart. And I'm not talking from this new agey Jesus thing. Jesus was speaking on different stuff than that. But Christians are called to be not of this world. So that means you question everything. You question the particular culture you live in. Even if you live in a conservative culture, question that, because a lot of conservative Christian cultures do not live up to these principles. I think they mostly do, but you have to question everything. Don't, you know, even if all your Christian friends are saying this, you have to question that. That's what Jesus calls you to do. And that includes being hateful, especially. Like, you can't be hateful to this level. He doesn't call you to do that. And also understanding your human level of processing. I can understand someone really having a lot of hate for somebody who unalived their child or something, but like, don't put fuel on the fire. And here's the thing: wishing torture upon somebody and jail. And I don't claim to know a better system, and I feel like in some ways jail might be the best option, because we need incentive for people not to do heinous things. So I'm not saying, you know, some decisions are just hard decisions. Like, we'd all like to have a more compassionate answer, but sometimes it's not as easy as that, I think. So I'm not claiming to know, but still, wishing jail upon someone is a big, big thing, because think about it. Karma's a biatch. Like, look, like, wishing someone to be locked in a cell, a human being to be locked in a cell, even if they committed heinous acts, is still a very big impact. This is a big thing. You're taking away their freedom. And like I said, I'm not saying that they don't deserve that necessarily. But just think about that. And a lot of these people in these documentaries, they already got life. But that's not good enough for these people. They wish more to them. And then, you know, my heart breaks for some of them, because, and obviously for the families, my heart breaks. And like, I'm not trying to defend the criminal over the victims. But I seen with Lucy Letby and Taylor Parker, I just kind of felt bad, because I guess, I don't know, maybe I've just gotten more compassionate as I've gotten older. My heart's gotten bigger. And I feel like I've always been that way, but even more so, it's like, I just think about, what if that was my daughter? Because they don't end up that way. And I'm not sure Lucy Letby's guilty. I have to look more into that. But like, man, she had like a loving childhood, and like, this one was, I couldn't even finish it because I felt for her so much, because I just saw the innocent little girl in her, that whatever led her to do that, it's inexcusable what she did, but she just seemed like a sweet, normal woman to me, and it's really sad. And Taylor Parker, I think she must have had like severe neglect to end up the way she is. And I saw kind of the little mama in her, I think it manifests in women sometimes a lot with, borderline personality, which I think, these psychiatric diagnoses, they're not, we like to label human behavior. There's a wide spectrum. It describes traits, so I'm not against it necessarily. I think it's a good way to describe, but these things aren't black and white in my opinion. But it often, there's a lot more diagnosed borderline women, and I think it's this fear of abandonment. There's this instinctual like inner mama of like this abandonment, so they often cling to their man, and it manifests differently in men and women. But anyway, I just see that there's probably this little girl who is neglected severely, and it just made me really, really sad. I just think about like, what if that were my daughter or something, and same with Lucy. So I don't know. I guess I don't want to make this too long, so it just really tears my heart apart for everyone, the victims, perpetrators. It's not good for anybody. And like, I guess what I'd encourage is just ask yourself, what good does it do for me to wish hate and torture upon someone who's already clearly suffering more than you could ever imagine? Happy people do not do these things. They're already getting theirs, so why wish more on them? Yeah, people, like, this eye for an eye leaves the whole world blind. Harboring that hate in your heart, it really doesn't end up good for anybody, and it just ends up with more hate in the airwaves, more vindictiveness. It doesn't do us any good. So anyway, guys, thanks for listening. I'll see you in the next one.